Hello, Career Services. So this is the second phase of the cleaning and sanitizing processes that we're trying to implement throughout the entire department. So myself and Zena Frame are actually going to be showing you some various tools and tips that we're going to be implementing. Now this will be something that every location will be responsible for. Now the only location that really won't have to do this is SSC because they have the facility and the maintenance team that is there that is actually sanitizing that particular site. But for every other location, this is the responsibility of all staff. This is not just about the career centers, it's not just about workforce, it's about career services as a whole. So in order to be able to get started, we're going to talk about some things that you should already be utilizing, but we're going to also now implement the next phase, which is now applying and utilizing the MR. So currently at your sites, when you're cleaning and things of that nature, we want to make sure that you're still using your glasses. You make sure you're using these safety goggles because in order to do that, as you're using chemicals and things like that, anybody would tell you want to make sure you're protecting yourself. You also want to make sure you're using your mask. Now, for the sake of this training, Zena is 6 feet away from me. She's behind me. I'm actually pulling my mask down so you can be able to hear me a lot clearer. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're utilizing your mask when you're actually doing this particular cleaning, not only in the presence of your peers and those people that come into our facilities, but it is important that you're following the guidelines that we're also enforcing. So you want to have your goggles, you want to make sure you have a mask on, you want to also have the safety gloves on to protect yourselves and your hands, and also to minimize the spread of any type of germs. Excuse me. But you also want to make sure that you have a microfiber cloth. Why is that important? Because even as you're wiping down different surfaces, once you utilize the MR, it may leave a little bit of dampness or moisture on the actual surfaces. So in order to sort of minimize that, you want to have that cloth to be able to actually wipe down. Now, for all of those different sites, I've already driven around and passed out the actual things that you will be utilizing. For instance, I've already delivered a MR. You should have received a box. Now, I do recognize every site does not currently have this. So certain sites will be sharing this between your locations. And if you have questions about that, the trainers will be able to let you know what sites are sharing the actual MRs. But you should have received a box with the actual MR itself, the actual funnel. So when you put the solution inside of the MR, should be included in that box. Another extension nozzle that sort of minimizes the spray, it controls the spray. The extension cord, and then also the strap to be able to, if you wanted to put it around you, to be able to do it. Now, what did not come included was the actual extension cord. The reason why this is important is because as you're moving around, you don't want to have to keep plugging and unplugging the actual MR. It is important that you have at least a 50-foot to 100-foot extension cord, so as you're walking around using it, you can actually cover a large surface without having to constantly unplug and power down. But so if you don't have one at your current sites, it is up to your manager to probably order one. But everybody will need to have at least a 50 to 100-foot cord to be able to use, to be able to make sure that you're using the MR properly. The other thing that you can go around there. The other thing that I actually delivered was this white box which has the electrolyte solution inside of it. This is a solution that is actually being mixed in order to be able to help to sanitize the actual locations. So the electrolyte solution, and then this Gen Eon mixer. It looks like a little coffee pot or something like that. And I know some of you, if I come to your site and see that you're making coffee out of it, we're gonna have some issues. But this is the deal. You're using this. Once you set it up, you'll fill it up to about half a gallon of water. Also with 1 packet of the actual solution. Once you take it off and you sit it back down, you hear that sound, you put it back down, you'll see that it turns blue, and then it also the blue circle will start turning to letting you know that it's ready, to start getting ready to be mixed. Then you just press the actual power button, it'll start mixing, and then after, it takes about 15 minutes for the solution to be mixed together. So what does that say? If you're gonna come into your location to try to do this, that means you're gonna need at least 15 minutes to create the solution. Then it's gonna probably take you another 15 to 30 minutes if you're gonna do the entire site. That means that is not only your career center spaces, some of the office spaces, down the hallways, inside the conference rooms, and in the interview rooms, all of that. It'll take about 30, 45 minutes. So be mindful of time management when you're about to do this, because what we don't want to happen is that when somebody walks into the door, we're still doing this, or there's still moisture on the actual furniture and things of that nature. So we want to eliminate that. So this may be something you do before you close or right after you close, or you want to get there extremely early on the days that you designated in order that you can actually apply this solution in the air around the different spaces. So obviously, you would probably start at the front door from the Career Center because that would be the first place to come in. It gives you more time for that to dry, and then work your way to the back of the building and everything like this. And again, working out the schedule of who was responsible for it, how many times you would do it and all that will be determined by the site managers. If there's 2 managers there, you all can coordinate and make sure that everybody knows how to do it. But again, safety is not designated to one person or one group, it's for all of us. So once this solution is mixed up, again, the alarm will go off, and then you'll be able to apply it to the actual machine. So what I'm gonna do now is turn it over to Zena, because the next thing that's important is the maintenance of the actual mister, in order that we can make sure that it's stored properly and everything is right, and then therefore when it's time to use it, it's done in the right manner. So I'll turn it over to Zena.
Hello everyone. So as far as when you're mixing the solution and once you complete, you want to be sure to take your reservoir off. So in order to remove your reservoir, there's going to be a push button on here. All you do is push and you detach. This solution must be dumped after each use. If you don't dump the solution, you may have an app where it may clog on you. That's going to cause you problems when you go to spray. So if that does happen, you need to ensure once again to empty this after each use and rinse it out with warm to cool tepid water. And you just push it down to reattach it. The other thing to keep in mind as far as your safety, as Raphael has stated, make sure that you have your SDS sheet on hand and that you place it in your SDS binder. Also keeping in mind when using the machine not to use your wet gloves, if they are, to plug up anything electrical. The two don't match, so keep that in mind. What you should do most times is when you go to plug up, take your gloves off after mixing your solution and plug your plug up and then put on another pair of gloves. That's very important. Also, with other troubleshooting, if while you're spraying and dispensing the liquid and either it's coming out to where it is just dribbling out, it's a chance that this could be clogged once again. You want to remove the reservoir, but also keep in mind whenever you're handling this machine to unplug your machine anytime that you're trying to troubleshoot it. Very important. I'll turn it back over to Raphael.
Okay. So as Zena was saying, we've already pre-mixed this. This takes about 15 minutes to do. So for the sake of time in this video and this training, we've already pre-mixed it. And now what we're going to do now is re-enter the solution into an actual mister that we got from the store to be able to show you how to properly do it. And then after we do that, Zena is going to then give me some guidelines and some instructions of how to properly use the mister in our actual workspaces. We're in the Smyrna Career Center's computer lab right now. It's a smaller space, but for the sake of time, we do have a computer monitor, we do have the keyboards, we have the furniture, so it sort of fits the example that we want to show you of how to do it, and then more importantly, the distance in which we want to do it, and also how to hold it. We're not trying to miss the carpets, we're trying to miss the air. So it is important that we demonstrate this in the proper manner. This shouldn't take very long, but I really want you to see how we're doing this, and then from there, after we finish, we'll be turning it back over to the live portion where the actual trainers will be able to answer any questions that you potentially may have, okay? So right now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm prepared with safety precautions, following the guidelines that I just told you about. Hold up. This is a live recording, so there's going to be bloopers. All right. Take the solution. Again, utilizing the funnel that came within the actual misting machine. Go ahead and pour it in. All right. For the sake of time, because it's going really slow. And again, just can't emphasize it enough. This is important for everyone to know how to use it. Even if your site doesn't necessarily do this, depending on which locations you may have to work in on any given day, you want to know that you're in a safe workspace. So that's why we're going through this. So Don't take this for granted. Don't take it as something that doesn't mean anything. It is very important that all of us are operating according to the safety guidelines. Our agency has done a great job of providing those tools, but it does us no good if everybody's not utilizing them. Okay, so solution is currently in there. Now if you look over there, Zena's now plugging it up, because when I was actually doing this, I did not do it while the machine was plugged in. So again, following safety protocols. Grabbing the mister. On the top, the power button is currently on the top. And all you do is just turn it on. So I'm gonna go here. Obviously, it may be a little loud, so I apologize if you may not be able to hear me, but hopefully Zena she'll be able to speak a little bit closer to the camera and give me some guidelines that I should be following, okay?
So the first thing you're gonna do is ensure that your cord stays behind you as much as possible to prevent any type of slips or trips.
Okay. All right.
Next, what you're going to do is you're going to turn on your mister, but when you first start turning on your mister, you want to ensure that you're at least 10 feet or a little more away from any type of electronics, such as your copiers, your monitors, and your keyboards. You want to ensure that the mister is tilted in an upward motion, just in a slight slant. What that's going to ensure is that you don't directly miss the chemical onto the electronics. Next, you're going to start turning the machine on by pressing the lever. And as you see, as he starts to go up midway, it will start to disperse itself.
Just taking the time to mix properly.
Your mist is starting to appear.
You may not be able to see it because of the actual camera, but
Yes. But as your mist is coming out, what you're doing, you're spraying in a left to right motion and continually moving. And as you do that, it's going to cover all the surfaces. You'll start moving around in one direction. And then you'll start slowly going through your entire area. Keeping in mind to keep it tilted in a slanting motion. Keep in mind also to monitor your cord. An area such as your career center would more than likely take you less than 5 minutes to mist through. Keep in mind also your chairs can be misted. The chemical will dry. That's why it's so important that you start prior to your career center opening. If you find that your mist is coming out too heavy, you want to adjust the mister, meaning to turn down the spread. If you get too much of a chemical on any item, in particular electronics, you want to take your microfiber, dampen it with a slight bit of the solution, and wipe the area off. The solution should dry within 10 minutes. Now, once you finish with your mist, the next thing you want to ensure that you do is to empty any chemical that's left. You want to, first thing is, remember, electrical, as you see Raphael doing, unplug your machine.
so if you notice the example, it's pretty simple. It's not very complicated to actually do, but it is something that, again, we're going to be requiring that every site does. We're not going to be micromanaging it and following up and asking questions of how often have you done it. We're just trusting the fact that everybody's going to just implement it. And then if you have questions, you have the trainers, Zena Frame, Alfred Brempong, and Kirk Kingsley, who will be able to help you if you have questions pertaining to your regions. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to share this with you. This will be something that we'll be moving forward, we'll be utilizing. And again, if you have further questions, those trainers will be there to assist you. But this video will be something that you can always refer to. We'll try to store it somewhere. That way, if you have future questions and things like that, we'll be able to do it. Thanks again. Appreciate you all.
Bye.
Stay safe.